This man is probably the reason you are alive right now. He's not a rescue worker, he never passed any legislation, he didn't set your parents up together, and if you're young enough, he might have died before you were even born. His name is Vasiliy Arkhipov, and for a brief moment, he had the power to save or end humanity. It was 1962. The USA was mad at the Soviet Union for being communist, and the Soviets were mad at the USA for being capitalist. But they couldn't do anything about it because somebody went ahead and invented the Kill All Humans button. The concept is simple. You push the button, your nuclear missiles kill everything in the Soviet Union, and then in about 15 minutes, the Soviet Union's missiles kill everything in America, and the rest of the world dies in a nuclear winter. Except the Soviet Union's long-range missiles were kind of crap. They could blow up with the fire of 1,000 suns, but the Soviets hadn't quite cracked how to aim them. But their medium-range missiles could get the job done. All the Soviets needed was a friendly communist country within about 1,200 miles from Washington, D.C. Too bad that didn't exist, until all of a sudden, a communist revolutionary named Fidel Castro took over Cuba. It was the Soviets' dream come true, and they had a pitch for Castro. Congratulations, comrade! I have a gift for you. Missiles. Won't that make the US angry? Extremely! But when you have missiles, what are they going to do about it? Couldn't you use your long-range missiles in Russia to stop them from invading us? No. I mean, yes, but this way is better, trust me. Castro was in. All that the leader of the Soviet Union, Nikita Khrushchev, had left to do was supply the nukes. Phase 1 is a success. Phase 2, we sneak the missiles into Cuba. Phase 3, we build the launch facilities. Once they're operational, Cuba is safe from invasion. We can strike Washington, D.C. within 15 minutes. You said we can strike D.C. with long-range missiles. Well, yes, of course we can, but what if America finds out before missiles are operational? Well, they won't. How do you know? Because the entire mission was carried out in complete secrecy. The ships carrying the missiles were disguised as commercial freighters and cruise liners. When Vasiliy Arkhipov was deployed, sailors were packing parkas and ski boots. Even the captains had been given secret orders on where to sail to that they could only open after leaving the harbor. The Soviets had thought of everything to keep the entire operation under wraps, except for American U-2 spy planes. They gave Cuba nukes. Invade Cuba. They'll nuke us. Not if we nuke them first. Mr. President, what do you want to do? Nuke. Bobby, I'm watching the Sox game tonight. Mr. President. They nuke us from Moscow. They nuke us from Havana. What's the difference? But you promised. If somebody gives Cuba nukes, I will figure something out. Nuke. 1962, a year of unease, where decisions made in shadowed rooms send ripples around the world. But in one lonely stretch of the English countryside, those ripples began 5 years earlier, with fire. The Windscale reactor burned, and though the flames were buried, their consequences were not. Welcome to Atomfall, an upcoming single-player action survival FPS where the English countryside lives in the shadow of nuclear disaster, mad cultists, and of course killer robots. This comes from the developers of Sniper Elite, meaning every shot counts. A, because things that get shot have a habit of dying, don't matter if it's you or the other guy. B, because good luck finding ammo after the incident. So assassinate enemies to scavenge bullets from their body before they're fired. Get crafty, lob Molotovs, or go loud and pray the neighbors don't hear. Either way, come prepared. Especially for these guys, hoo boy. When you're not getting shot, poke your nose where it doesn't belong. Uncover the truth behind the disaster, the strange goings-on in the countryside, and your own past. As an avid evangelist of certain RPGs, I was delighted to discover that in place of a main quest taking your hand, the story pieces together through individual leads, some leading to answers, others to dead ends, and many to choices. The End of the World, now with charming northern accents. Atomfall just launched on March 27th and is now available on all platforms. Now, back to your regularly scheduled program. Kennedy did figure something out. The Soviets hadn't delivered all of their missiles yet, so Kennedy ordered the US Navy to surround Cuba, inspect every ship passing through, and force any with weapons to turn around or else face Plan B. The military was set to DEFCON 3. The Air Force was ready to mobilize with 15 minutes notice. 100,000 troops gathered in Florida, ready to launch an invasion the size of D-Day, just in case. Responding to Plan B was Vasiliy Arkhipov's job. He was part of a submarine fleet meant to reinforce the ships on the surface, with nuclear torpedoes as powerful as the bomb dropped on Hiroshima, just in case. They were to fire if the US declared an act of war, which a blockade technically is. This wasn't a blockade, though. Oh no, Kennedy made sure of that. This was a quarantine. This is obviously a blockade. Nuke, 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 nuke. Khrushchev declares Kennedy's quarantine is little more than an act of piracy, and he will not be intimidated. But secretly, cancel the delivery. No more missiles. No more missiles. The missile ships are turning back. Oh God. But we've got to get the missiles in Cuba out of Cuba. Nukes. Nukes? Nukes? Khrushchev says he'll take the deal if we promise not to invade. And then we can watch the Red Sox. Dang it. But just then, a new letter from Khrushchev arrived. What I meant was, I am a strong, independent leader who demands you promise not to invade Cuba and take your missiles out of Turkey. That complicated things. Turkey was a NATO ally that was right on the border with the Soviet Union. If the US traded missiles in Cuba for missiles in Turkey, the US would feel more safe, but Turkey would feel a lot less safe. And how would the rest of NATO feel about America trading away their allies' safety? The integrity of the alliance could be in peril. The US military declares DEFCON 2. Nuclear-armed bombers take to the skies, just in case. Things in Archipov's submarine are tense. He's been at sea for 3 weeks. A lot of that time has been spent trying not to bash his head open in a storm. It's dark, it's 130 degrees, no one's been able to sleep, and the air is full of CO2 and diesel fumes. The radio operator keeps listening for updates from Moscow, but nothing is coming. All they're picking up is Miami radio stations. The press had gotten a hold of the story of nukes in Cuba, and radio broadcasts all over America are reporting 177.6 The Eagle sure is a beautiful day for nuclear war. Tim, how are you planning on spending your final days on Earth? Just then, a US plane flies overhead. The submarine dives and the radio goes silent. The crew will never know if or when the war begins. Things are just as tense in Cuba. Castro's hearing the same reports of troops and invasion, and now American planes are circling over his head. The planes aren't attacking, but if these planes are marking their targets, the next ones might be dropping the bombs. And then, an American pilot is shot down over Cuba, the first casualty of World War III. Castro delivers a message to the Soviet Union. If America lays a hand on Cuba, burn them all. Cuba may be caught in the inferno, but the revolution will live on. Khrushchev is freaking out. Khrushchev never authorized his men to shoot American planes, and he knows the Cubans don't have the technology to do it on their own. As far as he knows, his men just defected to Castro, and Castro just signed off on a death pact. Meanwhile, in America, nuke, nuke, nuke! Safety protocols are dismantled. Nukes that required 2 operators to launch are loaded up into planes ready to be fired by a single itchy trigger finger. 1 rogue pilot, 1 glitch, and the whole world goes boom. It's 140, 150 degrees inside the submarine, and the Americans are dropping bombs in the water. Are those warning shots? Has the war started? Who knows? But Truman got to press it! Bobby, can you do me a favor? JFK's brother Bobby Kennedy gets a meeting with the Soviet ambassador. Here's the deal. We promise not to invade Cuba publicly. We take the missiles out of Turkey privately. How do we know you'll keep your end of the bargain? You've just gotta trust me, bro! The bombardment around Archipov's submarine continues. How long does the deal last? Until Kennedy is overthrown by the military, or we all die in thermonuclear hellfire, whichever comes first. The Soviets are about to order the sub to come back home. The Americans aren't trying to sink it, they're trying to harass the sub until it surfaces. But the sub's captain is convinced that war has begun, and he's not going to die without a fight. Launching the nuke requires an agreement between the captain and the political officer on board. The first vote to launch is a yes. Khrushchev gets the letter from America. No invasion of Cuba, taking the missiles out of Turkey. It's a deal. I want President Kennedy on the phone now. We don't have his number, he's a capitalist. If I were Stalin, you would be so purged right now. The radio! Broadcast over the radio! The sub's captain turns to the political officer. The second vote to launch the nuke is a yes. All the roads between Khrushchev and the radio station are closed. Khrushchev is speeding down the highway at ludicrous speeds, praying that the war doesn't break out before he gets there. Archipov is in the sub, watching the captain ready the torpedo. The world, the actual world, hangs in the balance. But Archipov is not a bystander. He's the commander of the entire submarine brigade. On this ship, just this one submarine, it takes 3 votes to fire, and Archipov votes no. He orders the captain to surface and see what kind of a world is still up there.
Deal! We're chill! We're chill!
We're chill. Everybody, go home. Where do you think you're going? Give me back my nukes! And so at the last possible second, the Soviets and the Americans decided not to end humanity. But what neither Kennedy nor Khrushchev knew at the time was that they had acted too late. I pulled a sneaky on you with the editing. Both of their lives, the lives of practically everyone on Earth, had been saved by that submarine the day before Khrushchev's broadcast. And it was as much thanks to Vasiliy Arkhipov as it was dumb luck. By the astronomical stroke of luck that of all the submarines that left the USSR, he had boarded the right one. Thanks for watching. You can pick up Atomfall on any platform using my links in the description or pinned comment.